Relinquishing choice. What we let in, we become, is today's episode. I can't count all the times when I was driving alone in my car and a song would come on the radio and it would instantly change my mood. And then of course there are times where, you go to see an action movie or a superhero film or just something that you really, really love, or you find a character that you really love and you come out of the theater feeling like a superhero yourself or the star of the movie. Does any of this sound familiar? I know you've done it. You had to have done it at least once in your life, especially when you were a teenager. I don't know how many times I've done it. I've been every actor, every superhero, not really superheroes, I've never really been into superhero movies, but just using it as an example. But it happens, and it happens to all of us. And then of course there are people, so many people, including myself, who have or have had infatuations with movie and TV characters, no matter how bad they are, no matter how terrible the sort. And I'm a little embarrassed to admit it, but I was attracted to Dexter, a serial killer. Of all the characters I could have been attracted to, Dexter was the thing for me. No idea why. And we have David from The Lost Boys, Legolas from The Lord of the Rings. Not that there was anything bad about him, but just had to kind of throw him in there. Tyler Durden. Everybody knows who Tyler Durden is, right? And girls and young women, even older women, become so obsessed with pop stars or famous people that they faint meeting them. It's really kind of scary when you see some of these things that these people would do, these young girls that screaming at the top of their lungs, and it's really scary how obsessed we become with people, with famous people, infatuations, even to the point of being kind of stalkerish. It's really scary. But what we choose to engage in and give our time and attention drastically affects our outlook on life, our moods, our personalities, and our lifestyles. If we read depressing books, we become depressed, sad, and filled with emotions that are not so great. If we read scary or traumatizing books, we become on edge and anxious. And some of us, when we read romantic books, we swoon over the hero, and then we start to feel incomplete in our own lives, in our own relationships, and start to have an attraction to a character that doesn't exist instead of our own husbands. And unfortunately, too often, so many of us become addicted to certain moods, like women who read erotica or men who look at porn, or vice versa. But both of them are damaging to one's soul. They become lifestyles that make us do and say and think and feel things that are harmful to ourselves and to other people, especially our families. We may not feel in the moment that we're doing anything wrong. We're just reading a book with a lot of bad stuff in it. But you will one day realize that it affects every aspect of your life. And here's a big one for me, especially. We can become addicted even to depression if we allow it, if we surrender to it for too long. That was me for most of my adult life. It is true. I was addicted to depression because I had known nothing else my whole life. I allowed it to be an integral, massive part of not just my life, my personality, my everything. And I was comfortable in it because I knew nothing else. And for decades, I surrounded myself with depression on purpose. I immersed myself in it. I read depressing books. I watched depressing movies, which all only heightened its effects. And every single time I got just a little bit too close to a bit of joy, I would run in the other direction, run away from it. Compliments made me uncomfortable. I refused invitations to family get-togethers, which was really weird for me because I grew up in a very family-oriented family. We did the Christmas and the Thanksgiving every year and hunted Easter eggs at my grandparents, and 4th of July, and this was every year. And family was such a huge thing when I was growing up. But when I got older and the depression hit, and I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to do the family thing anymore. And also just even going outside was just way too inconvenient and too uncomfortable for me to even fathom. And the thing is, I knew deep down, I wasn't really conscious of it in the moment, but I knew deep down that all of these things, compliments, family get-togethers, all of these things had this great potential to change my mood, to lift me up, to alter the way I was feeling. And so I ran from it because in the back of my mind, in my subconscious, I knew that it could heal my depression. I knew it could. And I see that until now, but it's true. And the truth is, I didn't refuse to engage in these things because I was depressed. I refused because I was addicted to depression and I did not want to change it. Again, what we choose to engage in and give our time, love, and attention dramatically affects our moods, personalities, and lifestyles. Now, am I insinuating that depression is a choice? For me, yes, it absolutely was. I know that now. I didn't know it then when I was engaging in it, but I know that now looking back on my situation. But of course, I can't answer for anybody else because I do know that depression is a real thing. And there are people who genuinely need some serious help. They need medication, all those things. I do not deny that at all. But I'm just saying that in my case, even as severe as I was, I've almost had a hospital commit me before. That's how bad I was. So if I were to go to a therapist, and which I did a couple of times, and they diagnosed me with things, they would say that I was severely depressed. But in my case, I know now that so much of it could have been avoided, that I could have changed my life if I had just let the goodness in. But I didn't want to because I was addicted to it. But back to the subject, the music we listen to profoundly affects our moods. When listening to angry music, we can become aggressive and vengeful and even violent. And if we listen to music with sexual lyrics, we gravitate towards sexuality, degrading dress, and competing with other women, competitive outer beauty. And of course, if we listen to music about breakups, those are the kinds of relationships we tend to attract, are these toxic, unhealthy relationships that just never really last long. And if we listen to music with lyrics degrading women, men will oblige in the degradation of women. And unfortunately, women allow it, ultimately becoming doormats for ungodly, disrespectful men. What we let into our lives is what we put out. What we love or even like just a little bit influences us to become one with and cater to those things. Now, the Bible says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. That's Philippians 4:8. Now, I spent my whole life surrounded by people who did nothing but lie to me, cheat me, steal from me, break my heart, depress me, and fill me with anxiety and paranoia. I spent my whole life walking through a desert in the wrong direction without water. I fed my soul, my spirit, my heart, my everything with the poisons of society and worldly desires, believing it was just the way I was. I believed I was depressed because the enemy lied to me. And I also believed that I was content because the enemy lied to me. I listened to ungodly music. I read and wrote ungodly books. I watched movies and television that made me want to be someone that I could never be. I participated in so many things that just pushed me further away from God and my purpose, thinking all along that I was just living my life. I chose to engage in and give my time, attention, and love to worldly things, which greatly affected my mood, personality, and lifestyle. Completely altered me, the person that I was supposed to be. And then one day, I opened my eyes. After years of struggling in the back and forth, praising God, rejecting God, praying to God, and forgetting God, I finally gave my life over to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And once I did, and He knew that I was ready to stay with Him this time, everything in my life changed. Everything in a breath changed. A 25-year-long battle of depression fell away from me. It really and truly happened. Debilitating fears that had their claws so deep in me that I could feel it, physically feel it. They fell away from me and were replaced by this warm embrace of peace and calm. I even began to smile more, which was something I never liked to do, not just because I had bad teeth, but because I had just gotten in that habit of not smiling. But I began to smile for seemingly nothing, but I knew it was for everything. And then I opened my eyes a little more. I began to see all the lies I'd been told, all the truths that the enemy never wanted me to know. So in retaliation for what he had done to me, I shut out all the lies, the temptations, and the manipulations. I replaced ungodly music with praise, negative, mood-altering books, TV, and movies with uplifting Christian positivity and biblical truths. I began to read the Bible with anticipation and longing, which in turn allowed me to understand the Bible, to really understand it for the first time in my life. Because every time before, when I would try to read it, I was met with confusion and frustration and even anger at times. But I rejected anything that had the potential to shift my mood in a direction that I knew I didn't want it to go. And I discovered that I had a power within me that I never really knew I had, the gift of choice. It seems an odd thing to say. I know that I never knew I had a choice. I mean, God did gift us with choice, and it was choice and free will that got us into this mess in the beginning. My electricity just went out, like it always does, but I'm going to continue this video. My electricity just came back on, but I'm going to continue this video. But I think that not just me, but all of us have forgotten somewhere along the way that we've had a choice this whole time, because we incessantly choose things that are bad for us. We choose to become addicted to the world because that's what everybody else does. But are we really choosing, or are we allowing the enemy to choose for us? That's the question you really need to ask yourself. Have we relinquished one of God's greatest gifts to the enemy just so that he can let us believe we're the ones in control? I mean, think about it for a second. Why do we so often choose to do harmful things or do the wrong things if we know they're harmful and wrong? Why do husbands and wives choose to cheat on each other only to regret it later? Why do men choose to murder, assault, and molest? And why do women choose to give their bodies to men who are not their husbands? Why does this modern generation choose to disfigure their bodies only to later wish they could turn back time? Why do unmarried women choose to abandon or give up their babies or abort them before they're even born? And why do people like me, for instance, choose darkness and depression over joy? Now, am I insinuating that we shouldn't be blamed because the devil made me do it? Absolutely not. At its core, we are in fact in control of our own choices, but we choose to let evil make our choices for us. In the same way that a woman who is in an abusive relationship chooses to stay in the relationship instead of leaving it. She could leave at any time and get out of that life of misery. Of course, depending on the situation, some arrangements, phone calls, and safety measures might need to be made. But in the end, so many women stay in that situation. She's not going anywhere because she has lost her will to fight. And she has been in this relationship so long that it's all she knows. It's all she understands. And when people try to help her, she rejects it. The same way that I rejected joy. When someone tried to pull me out of my depression and involve me in things, I rejected it because I didn't want out. But so many women, abused women, are comfortable. That's a crazy word to use, but they're comfortable in their environments because their abuser is all they know. Their abuser is the closest thing to them. It's what they're used to. And the thought of changing their situation, even though in the back of their mind they know they want to, they're still afraid. She has relinquished her control to her abuser, and this abusive lifestyle is what she has become. And of course, the same can be said for everyday people in everyday society. We let society make our choices for us because if we choose differently, we won't fit in. If we went against the grain and did something unconventional, we would get stares and backlash. We would be rejected, shunned, and laughed at. Some would turn their noses up at us, and others would maybe even be angry and say hurtful things just because we choose to do something different or to be a different way. But the Bible says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." Romans 12:2. But the people in society really are the least of our worries because there is a force much more powerful than they could ever be. The same force that controls them, the enemy, temptation. We relinquish our control and our choices to him because he makes us think that we love the things of society, no matter how damaging or harmful. He makes us think that we love our secular movies, books, and TVs, and all this other stuff so much that we could just never part with them under any circumstances because they're not doing anybody any harm. They're not damaging to anyone. So he makes us, it's a lie. He makes us think that our lives belong to us and that there is no God, that there is no one to answer to, that there will be no consequences. So whenever we are faced with the truth, whenever something or someone comes along who has the potential to change our minds, to open our eyes to the truth, we reject it. We run in the other direction. The same way that I used to do with joy in the throes of my addiction to depression. We don't want to hear the good news of God. We don't want to be told that the things of this world are slowly killing us, the things that we love. We don't want to be told that our lives are on a fast track to eternal darkness and damnation. So what do? We choose to relinquish our control to the enemy, letting him make our choices for us. But no more. Finally, I have taken back my control. The control that I never knew was mine to begin with. And now that I know all that I know and feel all that I feel, I could never go back to my old broken life for anything ever again. I just could not do it. I choose to engage in whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, and praiseworthy. I choose God. Thank you for watching. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section. Like this video, share it, pass it along to someone who might need some words of encouragement. May God bless you, your family, and your life.